Welcome back, Alphas. In this video, we'll be continuing with our discussion of the 3 basic combat flight styles planned for patch 3.5 at the end of March 2019. In the first video of the series, and in the comments, we've talked about the major changes to mechanics and controls, plus our initial thoughts. Then, we delved into the first basic combat flight style, 6 degrees of freedom, in the last video. And now, it's time to talk about the second and most common flight style in space, Asteroids Style. So hold orbit. The second basic combat flight style is what the devs refer to as Asteroids Style, named after the old Atari game where you use your small maneuvering thrusters to position your ship in the direction that you need, and then hit the main thrusters to fly forward, using your thrusters to pivot, turn, or strafe while being propelled by the oversized rear engine. Feelings are mixed about the first iteration looming on our horizon. Yet the key for Star Citizen is the new ship editor tool, allowing feedback to be implemented more quickly and efficiently. They need a place to start, though, like 3.5. With my hopes gaining altitude, I envision the style of space combat we could have one day. We could have something like this after several balance passes and tweaks. Crossing my fingers.
Surprise, assholes!
I think that style of spaceflight and combat is epic. The Expanse by Alcon Entertainment. You'll find the links to the show, even episodes here on YouTube, in the description below.
Well done!
Now that that's out of the way, this show really nails the science of space travel, though. To be frank, much better than our beloved Star Citizen project. For example, in The Expanse, characters talk of deceleration burns, because in real space, unlike our in-game verse, if a ship continues to push the main thruster, velocity will continue to increase, with potentially massive G-forces on the pilot if it's a hard burn or hard stop. Now, in the show, deceleration burns causes their ships to tumble as the thrusters fight to line up the course while drifting. And in real space, your ship doesn't stop moving through space when you run out of fuel, unless of course an external force was applied. However, in Star Citizen's new flight model, Newton's first law doesn't really apply. Running out of fuel will still cause your ship to stop in space. And we still have speed caps in verse space, defying his second law. Because, if you add force behind an object in space and there's no external forces to cancel out the acceleration, velocity should increase without a cap until you reach just under the speed of light, right? Because one can theoretically accelerate indefinitely in outer space, yet never reach the speed of light relative to the starting place. Science nerds rally, am I right? Teach us in the comments below if my layman's explanation works or if it fell flat. I'm not sure how well our gameplay would turn out if CIG was allowing players to increase velocity indefinitely by slingshotting repeatedly around planets and moons, accelerating to some insane speed until, obviously, a player will use their ship as an interplanetary one-shot battering ram. We know that would happen. So until CIG can solve that dilemma in the new flight model, yes, we will have a speed cap on our ships in space. It will be Newtonian style, but doesn't stick to all 3 Newton's laws. So how about for this, we just chalk it up to lore? I don't know, maybe ship manufacturers magically added safeties that limit us from killing ourselves or something. Tell me in the comments what you think. Guys, I want to be able to feel my ship slide as I turn in space, significantly more than an atmosphere. So it feels like space that I'm actually drifting through. And so atmosphere can feel drastically different. In space, I should be able to Tokyo drift, whip the nose around, and go balls to the wall forward to keep from drifting too far from the combat. The maneuvering thrusters should be strong enough to whip me around quickly, especially when changing directions at low speeds. And yes, CIG heard you. They also don't want it so main thruster heavy and lopsided against your thrusters that we end up in space jousting matches again. That part is still a work in progress, and admittedly, a big challenge for CIG. Though they did mention that some newbie pilots may try coupled jousting at cruising speeds, going really fast, with less than desirable results. because the devs are actively working to deter it. Their hope is to balance it so that adding just enough drift will discourage short window flybys. Hopefully, they can pull it off, and instead of feeling like the old Atari game Joust, it would feel like the Atari game Asteroids, as the devs intend. But for science and satisfaction, we'll have to actually test dogfighting in each ship and see how much drift they've actually added in space. And just how much acceleration can we generate to offset the drift when needed. The SCM limiter that we touched on in the last video will hopefully help us choose as needed. Oh, and by the way, based on the feedback from CitizenCon, devs are tweaking controls, dialing in the throttle logic, and controls for more fine control with the new flight model. So your feedback was heard. True velocity or forward acceleration? CIG heard us on that one as well. They know we want the option to choose which would display on the HUD. Personally, I'd like to see both. I like swapping it decoupled to stay on target and then recoupled to change direction and chase. Being able to see both forward acceleration and true velocity would be real helpful to pilots, I think. Even if our true velocity is capped because video game, and even if the first iteration of this new flight model doesn't give us the full Newtonian meal deal, at least the devs have their bespoke ship editor tool, and maybe one day we'll get there. I fully expect the fine details of acceleration, drift, ship armor, shields, and so on to undergo many balance passes before the physics of spaceflight and combat become law in the verse. Considering CIG is really actually having to develop 5 different flight models, like if we're counting capital ship and Gravlev behavior, it will be a journey. Buckle in, alphas. It's gonna be a long journey before we're there. It may get bumpy. Keep your eyes forward. Utilize the Issue Council reporting system. If you're passionate about a change, post it in the Spectrum forums. Let CIG know when something still needs work. Oh! Or let them know if it's good to go. Your voice has dollars behind it, and likely some future upvotes. So speaking of upvotes, if this video helped you visualize what's to come and what's possible with our feedback, flick that like button. It pleases the algorithm, which gets this content out there. Remember to subscribe and ding that bell to get a notification when new content is up. Hey, be thinking about your buyback tokens because we'll cover the last flight styles next week. And I'll be looking for you in the comments.